Hi, I'm Tom Hill III up here at Strike Zone Studios in Upper Higher Wolcott. It's Thursday, May 20th. It's the first day of spring, Yahoo! And we have Nick Pinacho here from Stately Stair. He's our manufacturing guest today. And we have Bob, his and the builder from Warner Consulting.
Hello, everybody. Great to have you here today, Nick. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Tom. Stately Stair, we started in 1991. A small operation, about 1,000 square feet on Plank Road in Waterbury. And since then, we've been growing year after year. We've had our setbacks with the economy, like everyone else. But we managed to get through it, and we're still here, and we're thriving. Right now, we're located in Naugatuck. And we've done work for Bob in the past, many
How
stairs.
big are you building now?
Well, right now, we went from 1,000 when we started, and right now it's 36,000.
Ooh.
So it's quite a jump, but it's we can support it. We've grown that much to where we need the space. We've done lots of work for Bob for many years.
So providing him stairs for the retail houses you were building, Bob?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and quite a few houses.
Yeah.
And when I moved the last time, we went from Waterbury, about 10,000 square feet, to the now new location in Naugatuck, 36,000 square feet. And it was a sigh of relief to get into space much larger, where we can actually use a forklift to move lumber and everything else. But there were also some things I didn't anticipate.
Such as?
Well, I figured I'd just move into a bigger space. It's nice. It's a manufacturing space. And I didn't account for the building department. The building department came along and said, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And all of a sudden, I'm stuck with a big building and that I can't use for anything.
And for the listeners, the viewers that have seen this before, we've spent a couple of weeks talking about permits and certificate of occupancy. And here we have the principle of a manufacturing building. This is a case study. Go ahead, Nick.
So at first, I have a negative reaction. How am I going to do all of this? I got to run a business. I got to teach my guys different things that they're doing. I got to set everything up. And I put it this way, I felt overwhelmed. So what do I do? I call Bob.
Alka-Seltzer or Xanax?
Yeah, neither. I got Bob.
Call Bob.
So I gave him a call and I said, Bob, can you help me? Because I knew he knows his way around the building department, and even though I'm in construction, I don't have the time and I'm not exposed to it. So for me to do it myself, it would have taken forever. Contacting architects, engineers, all sorts of things. So I got a hold of Bob, and he's, gave me a rundown of what he could do, and we agreed on terms, and he came on and helped me through the process.
And how hard was it to agree on terms? That's another process when you're meeting with somebody like Bob the builder, because you want to were you concerned about what it was going to cost and how long it would take? What were your concerns when you were working with Bob to figure it out?
Cost is always a major concern, no matter what. In any project, cost is always a major thing. I had faith in Bob. I've worked with him before, and he's always come through for me. So I had no reason to doubt his ability. And I knew he had plenty of experiences building residential homes, so that wasn't an issue. Commercial, I didn't know if he can do it, but...
You gave him a chance.
We worked it out, and it worked out good.
Do you have the same love for Nick now?
Well, actually, knowing Nick as long as I have, I guess it brings kind of a little different approach, because he's more than just a client. Not that I try to, treat everybody well, but, how hard he's worked for so many years, and what getting into that place and getting set up and operating the way he needs to means to him, his family, his business, and everything. So
you're the consultant. Who cares?
Well, yeah, you want to try, and time is an issue. He can't start doing business until you can get that fabled certificate of occupancy. So you come in and you start the process of meeting with town of Naugatuck to get straight, building department, mechanical inspector, fire marshals. What are they looking for?
It's a long list.
Long list, yeah.
So, and how complicated because people don't know how complicated was, because I've been in there and you've all these stations everywhere and wires and all kinds of vacuum tubes, all kinds of, how complicated was it, Bob? And what was like you to figure out how you would get him up and running? And how many employees?
Right now we're 26.
Wow.
26 in the shop.
Yeah, I would say it was made much easier because of Nick, because he is, although he doesn't deal with that aspect of it all the time, he's in the industry, so he kind of, he's got some background. So when you start going through it and you're laying it out, it maybe makes a little bit more sense than it might to others.
Well, he did say previously that he could have figured it out, but it would have taken him a long time. So is he the client you like to work with that has an idea of what's going on?
Yeah, because, it all kind of makes sense when you lay it out. And we had to get the building classified, hire an architect, get plans drawn up, get materials, specs and so forth. And you might have two materials that are the same thing, but one doesn't have the rating, the fire rating that the other does. And so you're trying to find those products.
Oh, Bob, there's that fire marshal again you talked about.
Yeah.
The one thing that many people don't realize is nobody comes and volunteers information. Nobody's going to tell you what.
I mean, permit people, etc.
Permit people or anyone in general. They don't come in and say, oh, well, you need to use this product here, you need to do this here, that there. They don't do that. You have to figure it out. And that, I think, was where Bob came in and really helped, because the research involved with, what was the plastic? What was it?
Yeah, it was a fire-rated material that went from the top of the workstation walls up to the roof, and it enclosed that whole work area, so the dust environment stayed within it.
Yeah, you're cutting wood.
How many square feet was that area? Do you remember?
It's probably about 8,000 square feet.
Around 8,000 square feet inside of a 30,000 square foot building. So you're trying to enclose it so that environment doesn't affect the rest of the building with dust and all that.
Yeah, you're cutting wood. There's sawdust.
Yeah, right. And the plastic, you have to have what was this? Something with the smoke.
Yeah, it had to have it's like a smoke burn rating. It has to meet. There was all kinds of specs, not just on that, but on his curtains.
Right. And how do you attach it all?
Yeah,
right.
I had to bring an engineer in to get, and that's part of it, is that what people sometimes don't understand is that there's different ways to accomplish something. And sometimes most architects, engineers, whatever, good people, but they're going to do what they know, and that's not always the most cost-effective way that accomplishes the same thing. So you're looking at those different ways of getting him where he needs to go that's affordable.
And then you have to deal with the supplier to get all the material on time. And were there delays?
Well, we managed to find everything that was fairly accessible. So there was a little bit of time involved in whatnot. But beyond all those things, you're dealing with sprinklers, sprinkler designs, how they had to be redone and relocated within that workstation area.
So would that be mechanical engineering on that point?
Yeah.
And there's so much to this. It's mind-blowing. And now, Nick, that Bob the Builder got you all up and running, have you had to retweak? How's it all going? And give him a mark.
No, it's doing good. Everything is functioning the way it was intended.
Yeah.
The heaters are located in the right place. We had one of the biggest problems was we had radiant heat. And in a dust environment, they don't
match correctly?
particularly care for the fire marshal doesn't care for that.
Oh.
But like I said before, they don't volunteer any information. So we had to find out that with radiant heat, if you bring fresh air in from the outside, then it's totally acceptable to have it in that environment. But it was inside before, but nobody told us until we had to find it.
So what'd you have to do to
So-
fix that, Bob? And
Well-
explain what radiant heat is.
Well, it's like, he's buying the building. It's not necessarily something you're going to think about. You don't know that that's maybe not allowed or allowed.
You wouldn't.
And the fire marshal's initial reaction was that it's not allowed. And so we've got to go back to the manufacturer and get the data that proves it is allowed. And this is what we have to.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, this is what we have to do. As Nick said, bring in fresh air. You've got to have a maintenance program for cleaning, just like with his vacuums for his equipment.
Take out the
and
dust.
whatnot. Dust control, stuff like that.
What is
So
radiant heat to the audience
it's
that might
like,
not know?
the best explanation I could give you is if you walk into a Home Depot and you look up, they've got the infrared heaters, up above the.
Okay.
And they're very much like that, basically the same thing. Nick's were long, almost like a long strip. And they had to be relocated within that. And also outside, I think outside of the area, we may have relocated one.
We moved them all outside of that one enclosed area.
Yeah.
Okay, so to my broker friends, industrial brokers that are watching, you might want to call Bob ahead of time if you're going to sell a building or you have a user that wants to take it. You might want to bring Bob in ahead of time to take a look at the job and ask the user who's going to build an inside factory or process. Bob could maybe save you some time ahead of time by looking at it. And most people and most even brokers don't understand about the construction business. So here's a fellow who bought a beautiful 36,000 foot building, and once he got in there, he felt overwhelmed, and luckily he had Bob the builder, but maybe you could do some of this ahead of time in the future. And it's very nice of you guys to say this. Nick, tell us a little bit about who is the buyer of your product, and start by giving the phone number and the website for your company in case someone out in the audience would like to call you for your product at Stately Stair.
Well, the website is statelystair.com, and the phone number is 203-575-1966.
Again,
203-575-1966.
who's your customer?
We serve the general public, mainly contractors. A lot of people don't realize it. We'll get homeowners calling us, and we're more than happy to help them. But normally you need a contractor, not just us.
For what reasons?
Well, we do stairs. We don't do sheetrock. We don't do painting. We don't do electrical. So there's a lot of things. When people want to renovate their foyer, and they say, I want new treads because these are old. Well, it's not that simple. You can't just take one out and put one in. It kind of involves the whole stair. And once you start taking that stair apart, then you have drywall that has to be fixed or replaced. You have painting. There's a lot of other things. So a contractor is preferred.
And you just wood, or you metal stairs too?
We do wood. We kind of, they're intertwined nowadays. We do metal balusters with a wood handrail, cable rails, usually all metal, post and the cable. We do some metal stringers. It's if you go on our website, you can really see a lot of different things.
And what about a multi-family developer or a townhouse developer? Are you also in that game with stairs?
Yeah, we do commercial stairs. We do stair towers in apartment buildings. We did quite a few down in Stanford on the south end, and even a lot of commercial contractors like Haynes or La Rosa, Enterprise. We do quite a bit of work for them.
Bob, what would you add to this as far as stairs and contractor, homeowners versus developers, etc.?
Well, I think, if a homeowner calls somebody like Nick and he suggests to them that they need a contractor because there's, like you said, other facets to the work that needs to be done, give me a call or make sure they hire qualified
What's
people.
your number? What's your website?
My website is WCC.
It's Warner CC LLC.
WarnerCC. WarnerCC. LLC.com.
And I'm your host, Margaret Jones.
Yes.
I don't know my phone number or where I live.
Yes.
All right, so let's back.
It's
Thanks, Bob.
It's a new website.
It's a new one. Just say your cell phone twice.
And I'm old, so.
Say your cell phone twice.
203-982-3481. 203-982-3481.
Call or text him. That's how I get him. And I use Bob all the time for solving problems. I lease his buildings. I've been dealing with him like he's been dealing with Nick Pinacho. I've been dealing with Bob forever, and I had the absolute pleasure of doing 2 big real estate transactions with you. And we sold your house, your son a piece of land. He's building a new home.
Yes.
Thank you for working with Bob and I. So now here's the most important part of this question. If you're a person that's paying rent and you think you'd like to own something. Nick, how did you come about deciding that you should own your real estate? Because many people in the industrial business don't own, they pay rent. Tell us your story.
Well, you're developing equity in your building. It's not just going out the door. I mean, I was in business for a while, 5 years before we purchased the original building on East Main Street. And then we outgrew that. And we went we went over to Naugatuck. But I never understood the paying rent, especially on a commercial building. That's money you're never going to get back.
True.
It's going out the door and doing nothing at all for you. At least with the building, even if you close your business, you can lease the building to someone else and collect some rent and have some income. And if you've been in business for at least 5 to 10 years, banks are usually pretty accommodating.
And how did the banking go? I know we brought somebody to you that I think you liked. How did the mortgage process go, and how are you happy with it?
Thomas the Savings Bank, they were great. They were excellent. I think it was Mark
Graveline.
Good guy.
Mark Graveline. Call him.
The
We
name
like
is
him.
familiar.
Yeah, he's a prospect guy.
Yeah, the name is
Excellent
familiar.
person. He was straightforward. He didn't beat around the bush, and he told me right up front. He goes, "If you can't afford it, we're not going to give it to you." I said, "Okay, well, that's pretty straightforward."
It
So
sure
I
is.
gave him all my tax returns. He looked through everything, and everything was great.
Well, happy about that. Okay, so Bob, do you want to add anything on financing? Because I know you know a lot about financing because you own shopping plazas and built a lot of houses. How does that play in for people? And can you help them talk about financing if they have a project, whether it's going to be a build-out or build a new building or build a new home?
Well, I just think the key is finding the right bank. I've said it before, and in Nick's case with Thomaston, finding the right bank that fit his niche and being fortunate enough to have somebody that was straight up with him about what he needed to do, ABC, whatever. But I tell people all the time, one of the greatest advantages of owning their business is to own their real estate. They can use their business to acquire bricks and mortar and, as Nick said, have lasting value down the line. And so, I think Nick, at an early age, started with his own building, and he's going to find that's probably as big of a lasting legacy for his family as it is the business itself.
I'll say this, though. You always need anywhere between 10 and 30% down to get this mortgage. And you also have to plan ahead, as Nick called Bob when he realized what he was going to have to spend inside the building for his process before he could get working. That was extra money that was a surprise, maybe.
Yeah.
Luckily, you had it. And I would also say, though, that if you're a successful business, maybe you do have to rent for a while. And maybe if you need some specialty items, you make sure that you have a long enough lease so that Bob the builder can come and help you build your process inside. And then eventually, when you have down payment money, then there's, as Bob said, there's all different banks that do different things. And Bob and I and Nick now, we all have a lot of experience in using financing in a good way. So we can all help you. I'm Tom Hill, commercial real estate broker, 203-755-HILL. And Bob and Nick, why don't you make your final statements to our Strike Zone studio audience, and we'll wrap it up.
I just want to basically say that getting back to financing, I think one of the things, as Nick just said before, all of a sudden he had this work to do inside the facility to get in, and he hadn't really anticipated the degree of which it had to be done, and there's a cost of all that.
And that's an honest error, because he had all he could do to get the building bought and financed, because there wasn't much around to look at, remember?
Right.
Yeah, and so, you know, if they bring us in early on and we give them a fair assessment, we look at what their business is, what they're trying to do there, and what it's going to cost, they might be able to plan that into their financing end of it, because
Ahead of time.
unlike Nick, they may not have it. And if you get stuck in a situation where you're paying for your old building and your new building, or maybe you've sold your old building and you're supposed to be out by a certain time, and you didn't take into consideration these costs, and it adds time, and it can affect a million
So
things.
that Bob is saying there's a lot of moving parts. Start ahead of time. Say your cell phone twice slow, please. Bob Warner, Bob the Builder.
203-982-3481, 203-982-3481.
All right, and we're thrilled to have Nick Pinacho take time out of his ultra-busy schedule to come way up here onto the mountain. And we'd like you to have your final thoughts and your contact info, etc. Nick Pinacho, Stately Stair Company.
Well, I'd like to thank Tom for helping me purchase the building and walking me through the process of financing and everything else that was involved for the purchase.
You're welcome.
And then thank Bob for helping me through the process of moving in. There's no way I would have done it by myself. I have a short haircut for a reason, the way I can't pull my hair out. And Bob was a great help. So thank you very much. And Stately Stair, 203-575-1966. 203-575-1966.
And if you can't find anybody, just call us. And thanks for our producer, Jeff. Thanks to the audience once again. We're live here at Strike Zone Studios in Upper Higher Wolcott. Appreciate everybody paying attention. Bob the Builder, you're the man. Your phone number once.
203-982-3481.
And from Stately Stair Company, Nick Pinacho, our manufacturer of the day.
Thank you. It's 203-575-1966.
Bye, everybody.